Yeah, rich angry cops. He put out something on Saturday where it looks like he's breaking down the attempted terrorist attack against the NYPD, which the media tried to spin as an attack on the mayor of New York, which it was not. Um, so I wanted to look into this. I wanted to see Rich's breakdown of it because I have seen a couple of clips from it here and there. I'm hoping that Rich will have more video footage and more insights and more intel on what happened, who was involved, etc., etc. So it's good. I'll enjoy. Okay, good. I need. I always love these, investigative breakdowns. I fucking love talking about these. So let's get into this and let's see what new information Rich has for us.
The attempted bombing in New York City of anti-Islamic protesters with anti-protesters, well, that's been all over the news. Well, since it happened on the 7th. And there's a lot of reasons why it's been on the news. And potential terrorist attack that was foiled.
Yes.
The original protesters that were there. The media's reaction afterwards. But what I think we need to focus on is the heroic actions of NYPD. Now, I'm sure you've all seen some of the quick headlines or maybe a 1-minute video on X or
Yeah, and by the way, the quick headlines are we're all, including the mayor himself, we're all desperate not to paint it as a terrorist attack, desperate not to paint it as Islamic terrorists, and that it was done by people that were radicalized by ISIS. They have all absolutely tried to make sure that is not visible, while also pretending like the attack was against the mayor and not an attack against the NYPD themselves. Bear that in mind as we're going in. Rich may or may not discuss that part of it, but yeah, when the news first came out, a lot of the left-wing media, the mainstream media, all did their damnedest not to say that the individuals involved were radicalized ISIS Islamic terrorists, that they are I can't remember if they were refugees or not. But they were 100% radicalized by watching ISIS videos, and this was done as a Muslim terrorist attack. Yeah, they just, I was like, for God's sake, the mayor, when he was first talking about it, number one, he didn't talk about the terrorists themselves first. The first thing he said in his speech was saying that the protest that this occurred at was facilitated by a white supremacist. That was his lead in. That was his opening statement, was to talk about the quote unquote white supremacist that initiated the peaceful protest. Okay? The peaceful, nonviolent protest was facilitated by a quote-unquote white supremacist. That was the first fucking thing he said. He didn't even mention that it was a terrorist attack until literally the last sentence of his speech. Yeah, it's like the coverage on this was the desperate spin on this was insane, which was so handily counteracted by the literal video footage of this terrorist running up using one of the counter-protesters who was on the side of the Islamist terrorist, using one of those counter-protesters as a springboard to hide the bomb, all the while shouting, Allah Akbar. Yeah, this wasn't an Islamic terrorist attack. No, not at all. And thank you, Gabagool. Thank you for the tier 1.
Instagram, but I haven't seen anybody really break down the entirety of that incident. And when I looked into it, I found out new information too. Did you know that there were 2 separate bombs that they threw? It wasn't one.
Yes.
It was 2.
Yes.
2 bombs,
yes.
2 separate areas during the protest.
Yes. Yeah, it was the first one was the notable one where he used the counter protester as a springboard, yelled Allah Akbar, and then threw the bomb. And unfortunately, it fizzled. It didn't go off. Thank fucking God that it didn't go off. And then he runs back to his co-conspirator terrorist who pulls out another bomb, and then he pulls out a lighter, and they try to light it, and I think they actually did ignite it, but again, it fizzled. Thank fucking God, it did not go off either. And then yes, they had more in their car that they were probably getting ready to go run to grab when the police finally grabbed them up. Yeah, there's actual video footage of the terrorist running back to his terrorist buddy, who pulls out another bomb, and then the first terrorist actually pulls out a lighter and is desperately trying to light that second bomb. Oh yeah.
And counter-protest. Color me surprised. Why wasn't that all over the news? It wasn't just one. They did it twice that day.
I wonder why.
So join me as we find out exactly what went on that day and poke fun at a couple journalists along the way. But first, a word from this video's sponsor, PDS Debt. Is the hair on the back of your neck starting to stand up because the math's not mathing and the bills are spread all over the kitchen table? Yes, the interest is compounding and the fees are stacking up, but PDS Debt has already helped hundreds of thousands reduce what they owe and take back control. Whether you're struggling with credit card debt, personal loans, or medical bills, PDS Debt has custom.
It was, I don't know if it's to mention it, yes, it was confirmed that the explosives, that the bombs, we're using TATP as the explosive, and it is this is what makes it even more miraculous that no one was harmed, is TATP is highly fucking unstable. It is a notoriously unstable explosive and can be and is very devastating if detonated. Like, the fact that it didn't explode just from impacting the ground is, quite frankly, kind of a miracle on its own. And that's why it's just so fortunate that neither of these bombs managed to explode.
Options to help get you out. And they go beyond the numbers to create a unique financial solution to your problem. A personalized plan just for you. There's no minimum credit score required. They're here to help you save more and pay off your debt faster. And start putting money back where it belongs, in your pocket. With an A+ from the Better Business Bureau and thousands of 5-star reviews on Google, along with a 5-star rating on Trustpilot, why not trust PDS Debt? Don't let your case stay open for another month. Break free in 30 seconds. Get your free personalized assessment and the best option for you at pdsdebt.com/angry. That's pdsdebt.com/angry. pdsdebt.com/angry. All right, let's get started with the who, what, where, why, how, and when. It's March 7th, 2026. There's two protests going on in New York City. The original protest and the counter protest to the original one. The original protest being the Stop the Islamic Takeover of New York City, organized by an interesting political entity named Jake Lang, where the demonstrators were protesting against Muslims.
But, by the way, Jake Lang, yeah. I mean, I'm not going to pretend that he is not radical all on his own. I'm not going to glaze him up and say, oh, he is a great American, or no, he's absolutely radical. He is absolutely a radical individual. And Mondani was not wholly incorrect when he called him a white supremacist. He was not wholly incorrect. My problem is that there was a terrorist attack that occurred, and Mondami's first words was saying that there was a protest conducted by a white supremacist, which had nothing to do with the bombing in and of itself. That's where I had the problem with Mondani. It's not my support of Jake Lang, because, yeah, he is a white supremacist, so it's like I've got no support for Jake Lang in and of itself. The issue that I fucking had is that the terrorist, that the communist terrorist who is pretending to be the mayor of New York decided to have that be the first fucking line in his speech when talking about a literal Islamic terrorist attack in New York City. That's the problem that I had, is he basically tried to minimize the Islamic terrorist attack part by highlighting that a white supremacist was having a peaceful protest, which is a keynote of distinction. You may not like him because he is a white supremacist. Perfectly understandable, perfectly legit. But he, as an American, has the right to peacefully protest, and he was exercising that right for peaceful protest. The Islamic terrorist who tried to blow people up with a bomb we're not doing that. And that's where I had the problem with his speech.
Political entity named Jake Lang, where the demonstrators were protesting against Muslim public prayer in New York City. And that protest was going to take place in front of Mayor Mamdani's New York City mayoral home, who he himself is Muslim. And they were met by a larger counter-protest named the Run Nazis Out of New York City counter-protest. And just like every protest that has a counter-protest, clashes start between the two parties. It's then at approximately 12:15 in the afternoon that an individual from the counter-protest side throws an IED, an improvised explosive device, a homemade...
Okay, I have to disagree with Rich. The Islamic terrorists were not part of the counter-protest side. That's one thing that I think I have to disagree with. Because let me hear what he said again.
It's then at approximately 12:15 in the afternoon that an individual from the counter-protest side...
Yeah, they were not part of the counter-protest side. The Islamic terrorists were their own thing. And I'm pretty sure that they were part of their own thing. That did they use the counter-protests as like chaff to obfuscate what they were planning to do? Sure. Could Rich be saying that? Okay, hang on. Maybe I'm misunderstanding. Yeah. That's where I'm going. I may be misinterpreting what Rich is saying here, where he's saying that these two terrorists conducted their attack geographically on the counter-protester side. Not that they were part of the counter-protesters, but they facilitated their attack while they were, on the geographic side of the counter-protest. Okay, that makes sense. I'm misinterpreting what Rich is saying there. Okay, that's my bad. That's on me.
Throws an IED, an improvised explosive device, a homemade explosive device, into the crowd of original protesters, which you'll see a video here.
You don't live in New York. You're coming to New York to tell people who belongs in New York and who doesn't belong in New York. We were born and raised in New York, and we want everyone here to stay in New York. You don't get to come from outside and then tell everyone else.
By the way, did you hear him yelling as he ran up? Let me up the volume a little bit. You're gonna be able to hear. You'll be able to faintly hear what the terrorist screams as he runs up.
Tell everyone else.
Oh, I didn't back it up far enough.
We were born and raised in New York, and we want everyone here to stay in New York. You don't get to come from outside and then tell everyone else.
Did you hear him? Come up and yelling, Allah Akbar! Oh yeah. And this is the guy that made these posts here. This is Walter Masterson. I still stand, even after this, I was in the middle of saying, as a born and raised New Yorker, we welcome everyone into the city when he threw that over my head. And I still stand by it. As a born and raised in New Yorker, everyone is welcome. Even after a literal Islamic terrorist used him as a springboard to commit a terrorist attack. Yeah, this is the suicidal empathy right here. This is 100% the suicidal empathy of the left. The guy with the bullhorn is peak retard.
And immediately following that first device being thrown, the individuals who tossed it immediately ran to a secondary location and threw a secondary explosive device, this time at New York City police officers, which you'll see here.
Aaron Edwards, we talked about him a lot yesterday.
There it is.
Sergeant Luis Navarro jumped into action.
After throwing the second device,
that was a police chief.
A lot yesterday, and Sergeant Luis Navarro jumped into action.
After throwing
Sergeant. Yeah, a sergeant immediately. This guy has a literal smoking IED. He has lit the fuse, and this officer did not even hesitate to go jumping the fence, go jumping the barricade after him. No hesitation.
action.
After throwing the second device, the two individuals that are involved with throwing the IEDs, the improvised explosive devices, at both locations are apprehended by NYPD. They're then taken into custody, and the two improvised explosive devices that failed to detonate can be more closely examined. The news begins to pick up on the story, and although at the secondary incident, there are individuals yelling and screaming that a bomb was just thrown, different news agencies creatively write headlines minimizing the potential dangerous scenario that these two individuals placed protesters, New York City residents, and of course, law enforcement that was there to try and keep everybody safe during the protest.
Basically, they continually use the expression unknown device. They refuse to say that it was an IED, that it was a bomb, that it was an explosive device. They literally continue to call it unknown device to try and soft language it, to minimize it. Yeah. Here we go.
Now we've got the overall.
Oh, wait. Hang on.
Protest.
Two Pennsylvania teenagers crossing New Jersey morning for what could have been a normal day enjoying the city, but in less than an hour, the lives of guests changed as the pair would be. Yeah, look at this. Look at the fucking glazing. Oh my God, I didn't see this post. Look at this fucking glazing by fucking CNN. Fucking terrorist sympathizing CNN. Look how they open it. Two Pennsylvania teenagers crossed into New York City Saturday morning for what could have been a normal day enjoying the city during abnormally warm weather. But in less than an hour, their lives would drastically change as the pair would be... Oh my God, they're making, like, this headline is deliberately to garner sympathy for terrorists. This is written specifically to garner sympathy for Islamic terrorism. I will repeat that for a third time because it bears repeating. CNN specifically wrote this headline to garner sympathy for Islamic terrorists. What the actual fuck? We now have Islamic State-sponsored media. Somebody needs to check CNN's books. We need forensic accountants to go through CNN's books to see who is funding them. Because I will guarantee you at this point, you will have legit terrorist organizations or people closely connected to terrorist organizations funding CNN right now.
Now we've got the overall gist of the story, right? Which, by the way, to me, still, I had no idea there were two bombs that were thrown. I thought it was just one. It was a dud and they picked it up and tried to throw it again. So let's discover a little bit more information about everything, and we're gonna do a deep dive to include photos of the insides of the improvised explosive devices.
Yeah, you know what? You're right. I didn't even factor that. Yeah. When it's Islamic terrorists, they're just poor innocent teenagers. But when it's in your example, when it's girls doing OF, they're adults. Or better yet, they're adults if they are doing something on behalf of the side that they don't agree with. That's another thing. So if these two terrorists were actually like, I'm just gonna throw this out there just because it fits with what's going on. If these two terrorists were not Islamic terrorists and they were actually white supremacist terrorists, and they were of this age, guarantee you CNN would not be calling them teenagers. They would be calling them adult men. Guarantee they would.
Interesting. Let's start off with learning a little bit more about the suspects. Let's meet 19-year-old Ibrahim Qayyumi and 18-year-old Amir Balat. These two are the gentlemen that decided that they were going to pledge their lives to ISIS and throw homemade explosives at protesters.
Which, by the way, Crazy Hair here, when he was being perp walked out of the station or something, was I believe he was giving like hand gestures for ISIS. when he was getting perp walked out because they had him cuffed in front and he was continually giving like hand gestures in support of ISIS when he was perp walked. Yeah, the ISIS salute.
New York City residents and NYPD. Blot is the individual that you see jumping up over that counter-protester who was ironically making statements about how people are welcome in New York City, but not the people they don't want. But everybody's welcome. Anyway, Blot is the individual that you see jumping up over that man and throwing the first improvised explosive device into the crowd of protesters. And while throwing that improvised explosive device, you can hear Blot yell, Allahu Akbar, which, if you've ever spent time on the old website LiveLeak, you know is something you hear right before tragedy happens. Immediately after throwing the device, Blot and Kayumi both run to a secondary location where Kayumi...
By the way, did you notice? He threw the bomb there. The bomb is over here. Watch it. He has lit the bomb. The bomb is live. The fuse is burning. Watch when he... Over here? He threw the bomb. The bomb is now over here. You can actually see when he's running, and there, just tossed it right over here. He literally tossed the live bomb right over here.
Secondary location where Kayumi is seen handing off a secondary explosive device to Blot, which they're both lighting, and Blot throws at the New York City police officers. Following Blot's arrest, he did make a statement to NYPD officers, and I quote, "This isn't a religion that just stands when people talk about the blessed name of the prophet. We take action. We take action. If I didn't do it, someone else would come and do it." He then wrote down a nice little message to NYPD on a piece of paper that said, "All praise is due to Allah, Lord of all worlds. I pledge my allegiance to the Islamic State. Die in your rage, you kafar." Die in your rage being a well-documented...
Yeah. Tell me again, please, how the Muslim religion is the religion of peace. Please, all of you stands for, these terrorist organizations. Tell me again how Islam is a religion of peace. Please, I'm waiting. I'm waiting. Yeah.
Use slogan of ISIS, and kafar being a negative slur or slang term for non-believers. When Kayumi was arrested on scene, a crowd gathered around and was yelling and screaming, to include somebody yelling, "Why would you do this?" And Kayumi's response was, quote, ISIS. On the following...
Yeah. This is the suicidal empathy. These are the people that they stand, like, this is the brain rot of the left, honestly. I hate using that term because it's just so vague and general, but I have to. This is the brain rot and suicidal empathy of the left. They protest on behalf of Islamic terrorists, saying, "We love you," and then when the same Islamic terrorists who hate literally anything that is not them, want anything that is not them to die in horrific ways, these people Pikachu chalk face when the Islamic terrorists do exactly what they have been screaming they intend to do for a millennia. And they go, "How can you've done this to me? We're on your side. How could you do this?" Because you're not them. You're literally like the Islamic terrorists. Ironically enough, while these morons are out there preaching about anti-racism and basically saying that if you don't love Muslims, you are racist, and they're all about like, don't be racist unless it's white people, of course. Ironically enough, the very people that they are championing are, wait for it, some of the biggest racists on the planet. Okay, all of these Islamic terrorists that they are championing, to include the regime in Iran, the ones that are slaughtering their own people, and they're like, "We love Iran, we stand with Iran." Yeah, those are some of the most racist people on the fucking planet, where they will literally slaughter you if you don't look like that. This is the suicidal empathy of the left, that they literally want their own killers to feel comfortable while they are killing them. This is the people that are trying to take over Western society. They literally champion the most racist, violent people on the planet and want these people to feel comfortable while they kill them. They want to give them everything and then go, sure, you can kill me now. This is who basically is trying to take over Western society, these people.
Day of March 8th, NYPD officers located a vehicle that both Kayumi and Balat had driven to New York City. Inside that vehicle were containers matching the same containers that were used to hold the explosives that they had thrown the day before, as well as a note that said TATP explosive, and another page listing a number of different chemical ingredients. TATP is an explosive that ISIS commonly uses because it can be homemade. Now let's take a closer look at these IEDs that these young men made. Cans containing the TATP homemade explosive. Inside a larger can filled with screws, so you would have an explosive core, a surrounding area of screws inside of another container wrapped in duct tape. Following the incident, video footage was recovered showing Balat going to a fireworks store and purchasing some of the fuses that he later used and put inside of these homemade explosive devices. Now, with all these screws and with the explosive core, you could assume that the bolts were meant to be projectiles, similar to like a large grenade, likely killing numerous individuals that were close enough to receive a large blast of shrapnel, but also piercing enough people in a large area that there would be a numerous amount of casualties. Now to you and I, people yelling Allahu Akbar and throwing two explosive devices, at least large duct tape.
It's more like, I would actually not equate it to a homemade frag grenade. I would almost equate it closer to being a homemade claymore. Because a grenade, its fragmentation comes from the casing fragmenting, and that's where the frag comes from when the grenade detonates. Whereas a claymore actually has ball bearings in it that the explosive charge actually extends out as deliberate fragmentation. So in this instance, I'd actually more closely equate it to, I mean, you can say a pipe bomb, but I'm talking about like a more conventional explosive. I would actually, I mean, I'm very aware that Claymore is directional. I'm very aware of this. You guys know I know this. But in terms of the way it was designed to basically send fragmentation, actually, you know what? I'll do this. It was it was more like a combination of a Claymore and grape shot, except it was just circular in nature, not direction. Okay? Yes, I'm very aware. Claymore is an omnidirectional Claymore. There you go. Yeah, that's a very apt and appropriate description. Yes.
Allahu Akbar and throwing two explosive devices, at least large duct tape random balls with a fuse sticking out of it, looking like a cartoon cannonball from Daffy Duck. We would assume that would be a terrorist attack, or at least some sort of attack using an explosive device. And as I stated in last week's video, the media really dropped the ball on that. Because what would otherwise be a fairly sensational story, teenagers drive to New York City to throw bombs at protesters, turned into national media trying to downplay the terrorist event. Multiple arrests made after suspicious devices found outside Gracie Mansion, home of Mayor Zoran Mamdani, during anti-Islam rally and counter-protest.
Now, here's how Tim Pool said, holy fuck, NBC is evil. This is a multi-layer. This is a multi-layer state-sponsored media smear campaign. Not only did they say suspicious devices and didn't classify them as bombs, they called them suspicious devices, and they held on to this descriptor a long fucking time. Okay, all the mainstream state-sponsored media, which is a misnomer because no, the White House is not sponsoring these news media. It's the state-sponsored media from the Islamic State. That's the reference. So the state-sponsored media via the Islamic State is it held on to the suspicious devices label for a disgustingly long time before they were finally forced to admit, yeah, it was an IED. Here's the second part that was completely disingenuous. Found outside Gracie Mansion, home of Mayor Zoran Mamdani, during an anti-Islam rally and counter protest. So NBC, Islamic State-sponsored media, is deliberately trying to make it sound like this was an attempt this was an attempted attack against Mamdani. They are deliberately obfuscating or twisting the facts because the bomb was thrown at cops. The Islamic terrorists threw the bomb where cops were standing. Not at Mamdani's house. At the cops. This was a deliberate attempt to try and kill police officers and anyone around the police officers. So this is doubly disgusting with what the Islamic State-sponsored media is trying to do. Yeah.
A suspicious device being found is a little different than somebody throwing a lit bomb into a crowd of protesters and then throwing a second one at a group of NYPD officers. Found? Yep. Really? Honey, I found this bullet in my shoulder. Somebody must have lost it at me. Oh!
Yeah, exactly. That's the point I'm making. Like that Islamic State-sponsored media headline, it would make the average person think, oh, this was an anti-Islamic attack. This was a Islam. I'll use their word just for the sake of clarity. They're making it seem like this was an Islamophobic attack against the Muslim mayor of New York. They deliberately phrased it to make it seem like this was an anti-Islam attack, not an Islamic terrorist attack.
I found this bullet in my shoulder. Somebody must have lost it at me. Oh, they're losing bullets at me all over.
He did say that they found more in the car.
I keep finding them. And although I might even try to
yeah, Rich did say that more IEDs were located in the car after the arrest. He already said that.
Understand suspicious device. It looks like a cartoon bomb, man. It had a 4-inch fuse sticking out of it that was lit. Yep. Potential incendiary device. Homemade firework. Potential explosive. Jesus. A suspicious device? What's suspicious is your reporting. But the creme de la creme for that was CNN. And their beautiful article and tweet. Allow me to read. 2 Pennsylvania teenagers crossed into New York City Saturday morning for what could have been a normal day, enjoying the city during abnormally warm weather. But in less than an hour, their lives would drastically change as the pair would be arrested for throwing homemade bombs during an anti-Muslim protest outside of Zoran Mamdani's home. Here's what we know so far. To which the internet responded beautifully. Tweets like, what sort of country do we live in where 2 Pennsylvania teenagers aren't allowed to enjoy a lovely spring day throwing bombs at people? Another joked, 2 guys on a day out in Manhattan. Plan 1, a walk through sunny Central Park. 2, brunch at a stylish cafe. 3, a little routine terrorism. And 4, haircut, maybe a manicure. But this one, I think, hits the right amount of common sense. They framed 2 people who built homemade bombs as sympathetic figures whose lives were drastically changed. You don't hate...
What did I say? What did I say? This is what happens when you have Islamic State-sponsored media.
The media enough. Now that's just 2 headlines, there were numerous others. But don't let that get you down. Because even if the news hates you, NYPD still has your back. Because we're gonna end this video on a fantastic note and talk about those hot NYPD officers. And not just officers, a sergeant and a chief. Got 2 stars on his collar, jumping over barricades. I'm about it. I'm all about it. Now, there were a lot of good coppers that were out there that day. They were dealing with the utter chaos of a protest, a counter-protest that turned into a terrorist attack or a potential one. Thank God the explosives didn't go off. And here's a photo of everybody getting the recognition that they deserve. But there are 3 officers that the media has highlighted, or at least that we've seen in the videos a lot, that I'm gonna talk about. Now that's not to say that everybody here doesn't deserve their flowers. Amazing. You're all hot. You had each other's backs. You did the right thing. You kept calm, cool, collected.
All around.
You saw the threat. You took them down with a couple lefts and rights. Ooh, love it. But you all reacted and acted amazing. But the three officers I'm going to focus on are the ones that we see in all the videos. Two guys that we see simultaneously in the second video of Balat throwing the bomb at NYPD officers is Chief Aaron Edwards and Sergeant Luis Navarro. Sometimes policing is just being at the right place at the right time and being the guy that has to deal with the issue. And these two gentlemen both have a bomb hurled at them, or at least rolled like some sad kindergarten bowling party, and both of them react immediately. Identifying the individual that threw it, the two that are involved, pointing them out, and Chief Edwards jumping over a gate like a gangster. Dude still got steps. In order to give chase and point out Balat, who's currently trying to run away after throwing a bomb at them. And I'm not gonna lie, it's a badass photo. It's pretty good. So I will put that in an office. And let's give these two guys the roses that they're due. Just being on scene and the first person to engage an individual is enough for praise. And they deserve it for being as professional as they were in the moment that was thrust upon them. But there's a third officer. An unsung hero for the first couple of days, but we found him. Oh, we got him. I'm talking about that judo tackling cop throwing onesies and twosies, getting those hands behind the terrorist's back. Officer Grant, I cannot say your last name. Polagrin? Pulling me off right now. That sweet, you're going nowhere leg sweet tackle combo. My guy looking like an Italian prince. I don't know if you're Italian. He could be German.
Hey, I want to see that again.
Pulling me off right now. That sweet, you're going nowhere leg sweep tackle combo. My guy looking like an Italian prince. I don't know if you're Italian. He could be German. I don't know. But my little burro boo out there flexing on these terrorists, taking them down. And God bless him. Hate to get a little serious in the moment. What if he had a S-vest and decided to clack that off? Because, I mean, this is basically a mission anyway. Throw a bomb into a bunch of crowded people with NYPD right there, and this guy's selflessly just gonna go, I'll take him down. And on the way down, gives him a couple of knuckle dusters. Promote ahead of peers. Get this guy a detective badge. Put him in intelligence. Can't put him in narco. People might know his face from now on. I don't know, get like a peel and stick tattoo and put it on your face. Nobody will know. But just look at the way this man tackles this wannabe terrorists and takes them down. Oh, you thought you were going somewhere? Whoop, not today. Which gets me to another fantastic photo. Bam! Oh, put that on a gosh dang mural everywhere. Welcome to New York City, bitch! Ooh, yes! Welcome to the streets! Oh, I need to make that a shirt. I need to just make it welcome to the streets. And just take that. Terrorism. If you are single, sir, ladies of New York City, a handsome hero awaits your calls.
Rich, fear not. This man, once he is properly identified and visualized as the hero that took down an Islamic terrorist, don't worry. This man will be drowning in pussy. Do not worry, Rich. I guarantee you, he will have his pick of the harem.
I'm getting all sweaty and nervous just thinking about shaking his hand. A hand that punched a terrorist in the face. He literally punched a terrorist in the face. You hear it all the time. You punch Nazis. Punch Nazis. It's like Antifa's slogan that like almost means nothing now because everybody's a Nazi. This guy punched a terrorist in the face twice. And so I say to everybody in the NYPD, and especially this group of officers, chiefs, detectives, sergeants, etc., everybody that did their job that day, good job.
Here's the POB.
Good job. Please, anybody from your group of people that are there, I would love to send a care package out to you to take care of you and show you my appreciation for you. My humble way of saying good job. Get you your own POBs. Every single one of you deserves a POB. Best way to support the channel is get yourself a shirt. Get a POB shirt. Did your in-laws come over for a week and your wife didn't bitch once? Get her a POB shirt. Did you tackle a terrorist? Get a POB shirt, boys. Somebody that knows these guys hit me up in the DMs. Somebody.
He's
Cheapest way to
probably
support the
getting
channel is leave a comment. Tell me what you think
fired
about
up the
these
information to him immediately.
heroes. Did you know there was 2 bombs?
God.
I had no idea there was 2 bombs. The news sucks
I
hard.
did. I did.
They can't even tell me there's 2 bombs. All right. See you next time, weirdos.
That was fan-fucking-tastic. Like, the one thing that I didn't know about all that is I had not seen the video footage of that absolute fucking hero taking that terrorist to the ground and giving him a couple of thwacks while he was doing it. That's the one part about this that I didn't know about it. Oh, God, that was so good to see. I have zero doubt that you broadcast that this man took down the terrorist, panties will fall, 'cause mine, I dropped mine in a heartbeat.